We are back, and it is time to get into the qualification playoff round for Varsity here at the Null League of Legends tournament. I'm Stanley Greyheart Barker, joined yet again by the effervescent Alex Nymera Hapgood.
Oh, I like that word, and I like League of Legends, and we've got a lot of games for you tonight. We have a best of one followed by a best of three in the varsity qualification bracket. We're not going towards that winners side, well, the top four side of the bracket of the new regular split. We're going down towards that 5th to 12th finishing teams from the north and south, duking it out in a double elimination bracket to see who gets to compete in the top levels in that spring split.
That's absolutely right. Just quickly, we'll give a shout out to those 4 teams from North and South, so 8 in total, who have qualified and will be fighting it out for prizes over the next few weeks. They are Grey Warwick, TikTok users, Cabbage Family, UOL, Arctic Foxes, UCL Exodus, Lincoln Ascended, DMU, T1, and Bristol Whipped. Not only are they playing off now for great prizes, but they know they are in varsity next split. The remaining teams who are playing out now to try and join them, we've got Lancaster AUE, Surrey Stags, Cabbage Mandem, UCL AP, Herstock, Stardust Crusaders, Grey Warwick Academy, Reading Knights. That's the game we're going to be looking at the moment. Oxford Brooks, Vipers, Amumu Milk, Bigger Brother, Portsmouth Paladins, Fearless, SKT, Robbins Cringers, and the University of Edinburgh. They are all teams who will want to make their way into varsity, but only 4 of them can.
And if you ever want to know what transferable skills you get from being a caster, it's being able to rattle off a load of names very, very quickly, very, very good in the enunciation department too. Just a standard there. I could not do that myself. But I'm really happy to get into some real do-or-die matches because, of course, this is a double elimination, but there are not many spots to go through for the 16 teams that are in this bracket. Only the top 4 go through. We're only doing rounds 1 and 2 today, but it should be a real heavy slugging set of matches.
It certainly should, as we say, Grey Warwick Academy going up against Reading Knights. Interestingly, this is the only round in the tournament where it's only a best of 1. This is very much a do-or-die situation. This is your 8-mile moment of you only had 1 shot. Would you seize your opportunity? Only one of these 2 teams is going to get their opportunity to play in the best of 3s.
Exactly. And me, personally, I love my best of 3s, but we are going to rattle through 2 rounds today, as we were saying. There will be a losers bracket, which we will not be covering, so we'll be going over to the winners bracket of one of the matches a bit later on, and we'll, of course, keep you updated on what's happening with that bracket. Actually, I guess there's something to be said about, of course, the teams which have made it through. There are a whole bunch of different teams here, a whole mix of different ranks and perceived abilities. And the thing about the Newell is that not every team gets to make it through to this stage. There will be a lot of teams out there feeling pretty down because of their results. But these teams now, on the other side of that, have made it through to this safe berth. But this is not the peak of the mountain. This is base camp at best. There's still a long way to go to qualify, as we were saying, for that varsity set in the spring, which is what, of course, qualifies you for greater things too. So what I'm looking for today is for these teams to really show how did they get here, how do they plan to go onwards.
I promise I was listening to everything you said then, Imera. However, I was having a little chuckle to myself as well, because as you mentioned their ranks and, differing ranks, I thought to myself, we're in the lobby, let's have a little look. And I saw a gold 4 ranked jungler playing for one of the teams. I was like, I don't remember this being a thing. And then I realised that it was our fantastic Patrick on production who had just got himself stuck outside a spectator. And maybe not competing in the Null this time round.
Not this time. You know, it's been a long time since I've competed in the Newell myself. Actually, I think the last time I competed was, gosh, 3 years ago now. And then I changed universities, and I'm back in the university scene. And instead, I chose to take up the microphone, not the keyboard and mouse. But there's something a little bit sad for me there because I love my own competition. But at least being present for it and actually having a shot at finals from being a caster, because I'd never make it as a player, just give me some heart.
Hey, there was a time where I took up both the microphone and the keyboard, but that was in my indie rock days. More on that story later. So we're going to get ourselves into the champ select for this game just as quickly as we possibly can. We are, of course, yet again, it always seems to be our fate to get the first few games on a new patch. We are playing on the live patch 10.24, second patch of preseason. We've had plenty of hot fixes since 2 weeks ago when we were around and Amumu was the most broken thing on the Rift. Talk to us a little bit about some of the changes we've got coming in now.
So there are a lot of champions which have been big winners from this preseason patch so far. You'll notice that a lot of mage items have been nerfed to the likes of Victor in particular, who had such a high win rate, has started to lose a bit of that potency. We're actually through into pick and ban right now. I'll keep talking about it as the picks and bans come through. A lot of big items have been nerfed, so stuff like Rift Maker, Protobell, Night Harvester, Nash's Tooth, Lichbane, Ludens. All of these items have had some slight numbers nerfs. Stuff like Amumu's W DPS has been put down. Hecarim's passive and his E attack speed, which of course goes into damage for him too, has also been nerfed. These are both high priority champions. There is a Kayle player on this in this lobby too. Kayle has had some attack speed per 100 AP nerfed too, so in the later stage of the game, Kayle will be less of that threat too. So a number of different things, and we'll keep bringing them up as they come up. There have been a lot of changes. It is preseason. We expect these big monumental shifts, and we are lucky enough to have them on day one of each patch change, Stan.
That is our fate, as I said, Alex. We are seeing the bans coming through straight away, targeted towards some of the champions that we would expect to see people playing. Archerkiller, known for the Kayn, and Hooked, known for the Camille. Interesting enough, Shiva, not so much known, certainly that I know of, for the Jhin. However, that one is going to be banned away. It is an exceptionally strong champion in the current meta. Ornn is also going to be banned away with 2 bans remaining.
So, our other caster duo on the Newell this split is, of course, Trajan and Melvin Isle as well. So thank you for the work that you've put in behind the scenes, because I know that Melvin was talking a bit to Reading Knights, and they talked to their top laner in particular, who really hyped up their AD carry. No specifics, but said they're really good. Of course, that's not always the most helpful thing when we have to talk about specifics, but giving a person who is maybe the primary carrier of this team a champion which is performing very well on the patch, always very dangerous. We look at the likes of Samira, Ashe, Jhin, and a whole load of other picks, and it's not actually going to be any of those first picks, because of course we did say there was a Kayle player on the Rift. It is Hooked in the top lane for Great Work Academy. Instantly locked in. It is
absolutely instantly locked in, and the interesting thing alongside this Kayle is, as we spoke about the coming through of patches, coming into this patch, Kayle is considered to be one of the top picks out there right now, in such a strong place, able to survive the laning phase a little bit easier as a result of some of the items that they're now picking up. Obviously still has its incredible impact post level 11. In response, however, you want scaling, you want late game. There's a Vayne and a Lulu to play against.
There is. So I think if this duo ever makes it through laning phase, immediately that's a big problem. I'm now looking for a Nautilus pick, immediately locked in to try and really threaten this 2v2. And having it with the Samira. Samira was actually nerfed this patch, but this duo is so high kill threat. You land a hook, you get that Samira dash 2 and the knock up with her multiple gunshot passive, and then just follow up with a whole load of extra auto weaving and spell weaving to get that ultimate through. And stuff like Vayne and Lulu can find it quite hard to deal with Samira, because things about Samira is that, of course, that W which destroys projectiles will destroy Condemn. It also destroys Polymorph, because Polymorph is a projectile in itself. So if this is going to be Arden in the bot side of the map alongside its Reese, playing that 2v2 very well, they have the tools to really break open this kill lane.
Interesting one here with the Lee Sin locked in. Sorry, was that Lee Sin as Aurelia?
Yes.
Lee Sin is Aurelia. And well, that's interesting for me for 2 reasons. One is that I was almost expecting Archerkiller to play the Lee Sin, and it's almost like a signal that you're not going to do that if you throw the Lee Sin down as a proxy pick. Maybe it is just they were going to pick the Lee Sin, and then last second they want, actually, no, we want the priority. The problem is now, can Lee Sin be banned away? Can Lee Sin be picked? This has now got very, very confusing for me. I don't know what to make of it, so I'm just going to move straight along and say that there's been a little.
You know what?
Little ban.
At least both captains know what's happening. We were messaged just before it's locked in. Might lead to some weird thoughts. You need to start doing some mental gymnastics before you click on a champion portrait. And if we see something like, I don't know, a Skarner ban, actually Skarner's pretty okay right now. If you see a strange champion ban, that might end up being the Lee Sin instead. But yes, talking about the Aurelia, really good matchup into the Kayle. There are definitely a lot of situations where Kayle can just immediately just get burst down by the Aurelia. You get the level 6, and she just runs at you. I'm actually wondering what mythic, of course, the Aurelia will be going towards for the side of Joni Benibi. And Joni, speaking of this guy, he's normally on tank duty. He really wants to play carries from what we've been told. But not a lot of other people tend to start picking up those tanks across the team, and it is so often a very important thing to have in these large team fight skirmishy matters. Having now this champion which can run over this side lane, start actually threatening this Kayle under the turret too, that's an important distinction, because of course you can have winning matchups like Kayle versus Ornn, but you can't really dive the Ornn. With the Aurelia versus the Kayle, you can dive that. You can start threatening turrets and you can start taking over side lanes. And now, if you're going to have a Sejuani too, having that auto reset for on the melee champion in that top lane for the Sejuani E passive, that's a lot of CC to come in too. I think Grey Warwick Academy need to play very defensively around top side now.
Alex, you probably weren't able to see my cameras, all that was going on, but there was a baffled expression, because it feels like looking at one of my Clash games. The Yi and the Amumu both banned away by one team. This is something I am very, very used to happening to me. And the Rammus banned away from the other. Definitely quite unique and unexpected bans coming in. As a result, the junglers are going to be the Sejuani and the Hecarim. It really is like I'm on the Rift, except these people are actually competent.
Oh, you have no idea how much I relate to that myself. The Hecarim is locked in alongside the Sejuani on the other side. So we have two pretty high engage team fight enabling junglers. The Hecarim, we know what happens when they start popping off. You activate your W, you go in with a large amount of damage, but of course it has been nerfed this patch, but we'll have to see whether Hecarim can start sustaining, drain tanking, and really just making a damn mess of these team fights in the favor of Grey Warwick Academy.
So one of the things, just going back a little while to what we were talking about with the Aurelia, I have a friend who plays a lot of Aurelia, and I tend to watch a fair amount because they're decent tier of player. I watch a lot of their matches for practice casts during days when I'm not doing casts like the Newell. I've seen a lot of early Blade of the Rune King into a Trinity Force build that he's been going for, though it does tend to be differing depending on the matchup that you're going into. Very interested to see how this one gets played out when we get to see Joni playing this in the top lane in a little while. Now we've just seen that Sylas locked in, and are my eyes deceiving me? Is Faker playing in this game?
I believe we're going to have to call them Fake Faker.
It's not real Faker.
It's like you don't just invoke. Names have power, Stan, and we've got to be very careful with what kind of powers we invoke upon our casts here. So, as to not the anger, the great one over on T1 over in Korea, this shall be Fake Faker or Hide on Brush.
Hey, as far as I know, he might be the real one, and if he starts popping off, all I know is that someone over at Reading is eating a lot of broccoli. The bans are coming through thick and fast. It's going to be the classic A bans being taken away, just so that we can quickly get in and lock in the picks, bring you into this game just as quickly as possible. Remember, this is a best of one. Both of these teams, they don't have options to edit their draft between games, Alex. How do you feel both these two teams have done in setting themselves up with the opportunity to progress to the best of threes?
So it's not something that we touched upon just then, but remember the Fiora was actually locked in for the side of Grey Warwick Academy.
Sorry, it was right.
We thought that Kayle was going to go into that top lane, now going to go into that mid lane. We talked about protecting that pick, maybe not have it against something like the Aurelia, which can just dive onto it in the side lanes and dive the turrets. Now we have the Fiora versus Aurelia. That is a matchup which can absolutely go Aurelia favored, go Fiora favored rather, because the riposte onto the flawless duet of the Aurelia E stun can be quite telegraphed. You get that stun down, you start putting out a lot of damage through vitals. I think Fiora can very much take this matchup to Aurelia. That will be a very fun matchup to see. However, it's not like Sylas has a bad matchup into Kayle. That will also have to be a concern of Grey Warwick Academy. But on the other side, every time there's a good matchup, you have to still play with poise and play with respect too, because if you start going for these very close 1v1s of Sylas trying to dive onto the Kayle and Hecarim just mops up a kill, that is a very bad thing, because then you've allowed the scaling champion to get a lot of gold when they really shouldn't have.
Here's a story from A to Z. That's the bans coming in. That all A bans from the side of Grey Warwick Academy, Reading Knights, they decided they did not like Zed one little bit, and every single one of those champions is gone away. There are your full completed compositions with the players who are going to be playing them. Interestingly, both mid laners and top laners, one for each side here, had that opportunity to counterpick. At first, I believe that Reading Knights thought they had the counterpick, taking the Aurelia into the Kayle. However, they eventually obviously got to see the Fiora locked in, realised the error of their ways, and have locked in the Silas to counter the Kayle, which I'm sure they'll be pretty happy with, especially having Fake Faker playing that one. Meanwhile, on the other side of the rift, the Fiora deliberately picked in there into the Aurelia. So as you say, a matchup probably favouring the Fiora, though there is certainly an element of skill matchup there as well. With all that being said, which of these two teams do you think have drafted the most effectively to put themselves through to the next stage?
As soon as Greywark Academy hit level 6 on Kayle, Hecarim, Samira, and I guess the Nautilus too, they have so many tools to pop off. The Hecarim, if they start getting ahead, very low range team from the side of Reading Knights, because they're the Vayne very low range, and everyone else is melee, and Lulu doesn't really count. Samira can pop off. Kayle has enough range to start buying them space and start using their ult to protect one carry. I'm very afraid for the side of Reading Knights that there are too many carries which have the potential to 1v5 if they get a good enough position with enough gold in this game. So I think that is going to have to be Reading snowballing through their Silas and their Aurelia, and eventually having this Vayne trying to take away that carry potential from the side of Greywark Academy, because it seems like, honestly, the late game and the comp which they've put together, very, very scary on this blue side.
Okay, so you are going for Greywark Academy. Of course, Greywark themselves are already through, claiming one of the top seeds, if not the top seed from the North bracket. They're hoping that their sister team will also be able to join them in Varsity next split. Again, extra little bit of rivalry going there.
Absolutely, that would be a matchup to cast. And also remember, all of this split, we've been doing North versus North, South versus South, and we have this preseason patch now. We've talked to some of the teams just as we do, because we're in this new ecosystem. We know a lot of the players involved, and the preseason patch has got a lot of people very interested. There's a lot of blood in the water almost, because of the way that the meta has been shaken up. A lot of the teams that may have been successful in a previous patch might not find that same success right now. It's a veritable Wild West, or actually more like a North-South wild thing. But we do have suddenly a North versus South matchup, and everything is to play for.
It absolutely is. Me, myself, I try to remain impartial, but I rarely manage it. And this is another of those examples, The Warwick team, they are living just down the road from where I am, very much my local. And as a result, we'll be cheering for Warwick all the way. Totally unbiased casters here on the Null, as always. And yeah, looking at the composition, I think this is a really, really fascinating matchup. And I do think a lot of it's going to come down to the jungle pressure, both in terms of whether Muzzmil can get fed on this Hecarim, at which point that Onslaught of Shadows is not just unstoppable and untargetable, but also pretty scary and obliteratory, because that's a word I just made up. But if Sejuani can get involved and actually start the snowball going for the Silas, the Aurelia, maybe even that Vayne that we want to see later on, could still work out pretty well. I think it's going to be a close match. I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out. This is do or die time for these two teams. One of them will play no further part in the winter split. That, however, of course, is a lie, isn't it? Because it's a double elimination bracket. So the loser of this goes straight into the losers bracket, where they will still have a chance to continue a winning run and get themselves through to the varsity in the spring. With that all said, let's get on to the rift. Oh, wait a minute. No, we can't. Small break first. Be right back. We are on to the Rift for the first game of the varsity qualification knockout double elimination bracket. And straight away, we see that both of the teams attempting their sneaky tactics. They're 5-man stacked, but neither of the teams look likely to meet each other as things stand. However, I do feel like Benibi's got to be very, very careful should they decide to walk to the top lane.
Absolutely. A lot of what we see in 5-man stacks is a view to try and get some wards down and track out those jungle starts. We immediately pinpointed the fact that Archer Killer has these 2 melee lanes, lots of dangerous opportunities on the board for Redding Knights. However, there is a lot of effort to be put into this red team because they have 3 lanes that really do want to be winning those matchups and playing from ahead. Archer Killer himself is an auto-filled player, not normally a jungler, so there's a lot of responsibility on this player now to really get the most out of his role and try and get his team to success.
Something I'm really interested by is the fact that we're seeing both ADCs with the exhaust, which means that Slavoni-chan on the Lulu has an opportunity to be exhausted both in-game and in real life.
Yes, apparently we only had 4 hours sleep, which is about me on a regular day, I have to say nowadays. Now I'm waiting on deadlines. We see the Q start from Sylas. You can do this into ranged matchups. You get a couple of points into that, particularly stuff like Syndra when she was very prevalent earlier in the year, ended up giving some really good trading potential against those more ranged matchups.
What do you make of that decision from the ADCs and supports not to have a single heal or barrier, as we do see the Dredge line straight away connecting onto Chiva, who trades back, gets a Silver Bolts proc onto Arden, the exhaust already thrown down by Chiva.
And that's why you do take the exhaust. A lot of burst combos can come out very, very quickly. CC with a Samira just allowing that CC knockup extension to come through is so dangerous. And having now the exhaust traded for the Ignite, this you can see immediately what the thought process of both these bot lane players is.
You certainly can. The trade of summoner spells in the opening exchanges, always exciting to see. Both of these teams really hype these games, as apparently is Twitch chat, which is absolutely popping today. It's got supporters for both the sides. Give some love to the Reading Knights or Grey Warwick Academy, whichever of the 2 teams you are cheering for, but keep it clean.
No, we just want to be entertained here on the caster desk, or at least I do. Not sure about Stan's. Of course, his allegiances maybe slightly more tilted.
Let's go, Warwick! Come on, Knights.
Oh, it's like cheering at an away game sometimes. Immediately, we do see Sylas getting some priority in that mid lane. I wonder if that's going to allow Archkiller to get maybe an early gank up towards that top lane path, using that mid lane prio and seeing if that matchup in top lane can be affected. And there's another hook in bot lane.
Dredge line after dredge line after dredge line, but the Silver Bolt procs are huge. And if Arden had taken one more shot from Chiva, that could have been the death of the ADC from Grey Warwick in the end. Yet again, the trades coming in. No summoners burnt this time round. Meanwhile, in the top lane, equal trades as both of these summoners down to 60% health.
This game could very much come down to lane kingdom. The question is, because all 3 of these lanes can be very high impact and octane, which of these teams is going to get the larger benefit out of this? And when it comes around to these first grouped up fights, where are the advantages really going to show up when we do get multiple members converging onto the same part of the map?
Meanwhile, Hecarim is going to get that early first back, having got himself a scuttle right at the end of a full clear. We'll see exactly what he's opting into, and it is going to be that early sheen for the Hecarim. Not at all surprising given the synergy with the Q.
No, not surprising at all. You can see right now the Vitals really hurt in that top lane matchup, but it is a pushing lane. If you get overextended, you can get ganked by this melee laner with the Sejuani, taking the good trades, but is it a bait?
Yet again, Reese going very, very brave. This is going to be dash forward from Samira, but first blood coming in for Lulu. It's going to be Slavoni-chan picking up 1 as the first gank of the game comes through. Archer Killer XD finds a second kill. Make it 3. In the end, it's 3-4-1 because it's Reese goes aggressive, doesn't manage to find the kill. And then Hecarim comes in, takes a second, and quick trade back for Grey Warwick. 5 kills in what felt like 5 seconds.
Do my eyes fool me, or was that a Nautilus 1v2 until the Hecarim cleans up and teleported to the top lane? Dangerous, maybe getting the direst treatment, going up for the stun, but of course riposte is a nice ability.
Beautifully done, dodging away from the stun that was coming in. Benibi, however, now getting the advantage, having been able to shove that wave in. Got a CS advantage, going to go back with an assist in the pocket. Sejuani also with that kill, going to get that first buy as well.
Okay, so first blood was to bot lane, and then that was to the Lulu. Neither AD carry get that immediate kill. Gold is actually a killer piece to the supports, and then the assist over to the Nautilus. We have a kill on the junglers, and importantly, we did see that Silas picking up a solo kill onto the KL2. That counter pick in that mid lane turning out pretty well, but remember, this Fiora, who was the counter pick in the top lane, did fall down to that mid jungle duo too.
And while you were monologuing away there, my friend, the Hecarim kept himself busy taking away what is the first dragon of the game. A Cloud Dragon secured for Grey Warwick Academy pre 6 minutes. A fantastic early start. Seeing that Sejuani, putting the pressure in top, having the Sheen, went, this will be a nice, free, easy objective for me.
Will be. So level 6 hit by the Kale, hit by the Silas as well. So,
we're
just fighting in the bot lane again.
3v3, here we go. The damage comes down. Archkiller gets himself stunned up. Knock-up comes in as it's going to be another kill. And this is Hecarim dying for the first time. Condemned onto Arden, but I'm not sure this is going to be enough to save Chiba, who's a long way from home. Slave loading Chan trying to stay alive, trying to put the shield down. Arden's so close to death, but Archkiller just doesn't have the damage. Slave now having to run away. Re-stepping forward bravely. Has Kale for backup as well. Silas starting to roam down the river, but not going to be here in time to join this fray.
If that Lulu eats one single auto attack more in that trade, there is a reset on the Wild Rush from the Samira, and that goes from bad to worse. It's already very tumultuous. Sejuani coming for a wraparound gank yet again. Low health Samira. Let's see how this works out.
I've seen this one before. Dredgeline connects straight onto Archer Killer, who's been bold, and he's going to find the kill. Just about Triumph procs, and that's enough to stop Nautilus from getting a return kill. This time things work out nicely for Archer Killer, who's now 3-0. Screamore trying to do everything he can, throws down the ultimate, responds in kind from Fake Faker. The damage comes in, but Fake Faker loses out. Look at the move, Screamore!
When you hit level 6 on the Kel, of course, you become a ranged champion in the full meaning of that word. No longer is it just waiting for your E cooldown. Flashes out of the secondary burst of that Chain Lash, gets the final auto attack. No flash coming through from the Silas, goes down. The ultimate's traded, but the 1v1 goes the way of the Kale. Counter pick in the mid lane, going against the head.
9 kills in 7 minutes. Are you not entertained, Twitch chat? This is what we're looking for. My voice is definitely not surviving the night.
Didn't know everyone picked Draven in his gladiator skin this time. Of course, not even on the Rift, but that's exactly what we're feeling here on the Casted Desk. We have the action, we have the high octane moves, and we've got no shortage of kills.
Meanwhile, we have to turn our attention to what comes next. The answer... who knows? Probably more dredge lines, probably more fights right now. Hook taking as much of this CS underneath his turret as he possibly can, keeping himself even in farm with the Aurelia, and actually not doing too badly at all, given that he was put behind by those 2 early ganks from Archer Killer.
Yeah, so I guess we have to see where priority is going. We see Sejuani on the bot side of the map hanging around, because it does seem like both of these 2v2s very, very eager to engage. We've got, of course, the dredge line landing from Nautilus, and that going into very high amounts of damage coming through with Samira too. Samira has the ultimate now. That is the big break point. No level 6 on the Vayne, no invisibility to be had, and of course, no wild growth from the Lulu either. This is a time to be very, very afraid from the side of the red team.
Beautiful sidestep there from Lulu, stopping the dredge line connecting. Now a teleport comes in, but this is perhaps a little deep, and despite the Vanguard's edge, unable to get one kill, dashes straight forward, throws down the blade well, but gets polymorph, and another kill comes in for Archer Killer. You called him auto-filled, I call him 4 and freaking oh, he wants more, looking for its Reese, who has to flash over the wall.
But what starts out as a 2 or a 3v2 turns into a 3v3, and then of course the jungler comes down as well. Only ends up in a 1-for-1, and this does give some free time to the Fiora to hit that tower. Remember, Fiora in the last season can now use the Q and the E onto towers. That's a lot of extra tower damage that Fiora didn't have in previous iterations of this kit. Turns out, well, I guess in terms of the gold value, very, very even across the board, but where the gold is being placed, as you're rightly saying, for the side of Reading Knights, has gone right onto that jungler, who is the one tank on the team. That can be very important because, of course, someone needs to be tanking up the huge amount of damage, which is available there from Grey Warwick Academy.
If this had been patch 10.23, I would have thought it would have been absolutely amazing for the Sejuani, knowing the situation that the Sunforge cape and everything else is there for tanks. Things got toned down a little bit this time around. It's not quite as crucial to get your tank ahead. It's not a situation where 5 tanks can just stand next to the Baron and melt it away for free now. I would have wanted to see at least one of those kills put onto Chiva, who is actually falling a little bit behind Samira, despite the level of int that Arden's been putting out. And that's according to Twitch chat, not according to me.
I absolutely agree. I think this Vayne needs to pull a lot of weight in this game too, because that is the late game insurance from the side of Reading Knights. Silas can get tied up and put into, because of course Silas needs to be within melee range, and that's perfect distance for an Onslaught of Shadows to come through. For Fiora to start getting a large amount of damage and putting the ultimate down. I don't think Silas can be the one-man carry. Aurelia similarly has to deal with that, and now he has to get out of this 2v1.
Faker's in all sorts of trouble, uses the Onslaught of Shadows stolen away from the Hecarim to try and dash to safety. Does manage to find a little bit of support from the Sejuani, throws down that slow, but Kale comes along as well, and suddenly the 3 versus 2, continuing, chilling Smite onto Hook, trying to find the slow. The big old gummy ring is over Archer Killer. This could be the shutdown. Onslaught of Shadows gonna put the flea in. There's the shutdown, and that is an extra 400 gold in the pocket of the Kale.
It's the Kale too, as you were saying. That's another late game carry for the side of Grey Rock Academy, but it turns out that a lot of their team is comprised of late game carries. This is why we were saying the side of Reading Knights, they want to play ahead from lane, start punishing these carries when they get too far, aggressive, when they start pushing too far forward. But as it stands right now, there's a lot of gold in a lot of bad places from the view of Reading Knights.
And we're going to be at a place where pre-12 minutes, 2 dragons have been secured by the Grey Warwick Academy. They're going to find themselves nearly 1,000 gold in the lead. We're going to see whether it's an Ocean or an Infernal Rift. The answer, Infernal.
And on the 3rd day of Dragons, the Summoner's Rift did decide it would be of the fiery variety, so extra damage will be given out to the team. Of course, that does secure that soul. And we've already seen a fair amount of that being dealt out across every single lane in this game. We've seen solo kills, we've seen skirmishes, and honestly, we've seen basically no second guessing from either of these teams.
One of the things I love so often in these games, I'll come back to that in a moment, because here we go again. Already the Blade Will's been used by Arden, so no extra protection coming in. The Condemn is going to be used, but it's going to be a stun landing onto Reese as he is going to die. Finally, Chiba gets his first kill. Meanwhile, Screamore throws down the ultimate, able to survive for now. Aurelia winning out in the trade in the mid lane.
This is the matchup which, of course, Reading Knights wanted to pick in that top lane, but no, he gets tower shot.
Dash used unsuccessfully due to the charge. The flash was used, but it wasn't enough to save Benibi. It's going to be a kill coming in for the Hecarim. As you say, that was the matchup they wanted. They did not factor on the pony.
I love how all of my words just like jumble into like 3 words into one. Tower shot. That's effectively probably, that's what was going through the mind of Joni probably in that play as well. Because you think, okay, right, maybe I can queue into the Hecarim and then use him as an escape route. But then, of course, the charge was already coming through and that knocks you back and it can interrupt those dashes. Of course, the damage comes through from the Aurelia, gets tower aggro, had no flash at the end of that play and goes down for it. This is what, again, we were saying right from the beginning. While you may have a quote-unquote counter matchup, you still need to play with poise and play with respect, because if you do end up getting shut down on one of your aggressive plays after you've used a lot of your aggressive tools, it's a 2-fold loss.
Speaking of respect, though, Hooked has no respect for anyone in that top lane now. That 110 CS already picked up by the Fiora at 13 minutes. 4 turret plates to Hooked's name as well. That's going to be the Herald, also secured by the Hecarim, and at the moment, it's looking very, very tough to stop the split push of Hooked. Archer Killer looking towards Artem, hasn't got a huge amount of support at the minute. Bladewell used not particularly great effects as the stun. The Condemn comes in, and Artem trying to dash out to safety with the Wild Rush, and it's going to be good damage coming in due to S rank. But it's not enough. Chiba finds a second kill of the game. More turret plates go down in the mid lane as Screamore chases Faker off this turret, and this will almost certainly be first turret going over to Grey Warwick Academy, who have built up a near 2,000 gold lead.
They have Hook land, so he's in danger now.
Oh, not just danger, just dead. That's all she wrote for that one.
Is Faker steps up too far, or rather, I'm sorry, Faker. It doesn't sit well with me, Stan. He's 1 and 2 on Silas.
It's their name, you know. Just because I had an account that was, you know, e.g. Crepo back in the day didn't mean I was Crepo. Didn't mean that if I died, Crepo died. I think we accept that Faker with the fancy F, you know, just like if he was writing Forte in music, you know, this is a very loud Faker, and at the moment he's a bit loud and dead.
About to say, is this less of dying with a bang, bit more dying with a whimper in that case? Talking about Forte, really not the exit he wanted to have from that mid lane. Tower is now down. That allows Screamore to push out that wave, or of course have the Samira and the Nautilus stay in mid lane, push that out, and then go to another area of the map. This is where things get very, very dangerous if lane allocations work out for the side of Grey Warwick Academy, because as long as they're getting farm and as long as they aren't getting pressured off of waves, they're in a very happy spot.
So interesting to see that it does look like it's going to be that Blade of the Rune King looking early pickup coming in the top lane. Meanwhile, we do see the Sundra already secured for the Fiora, having that mythic completed. Absolutely massive. So Trinity, not Trinity Force, but Sundra just completed by Muzzlemil as well.
Now, there's this interesting thing about Divine Sundra. There are some of the effects, and I'll need to check up which in this patch notes, which no longer affect towers from that Sundra. I think it might actually be the percent physical health, which used to apply to towers, and now it no longer does. This tower actually going to die as we say that, and now Israel is going to run.
This is going to be the grand challenge issued. Benibi doing everything he can to dash back and forward, stop those procs from coming in. The Vitals have been hit. Hooked manages to find 2 of the 4, finds a gummy ring for good measure as well.
So the real big turnaround in that play was Hooked doesn't win that mind game and riposte with no target. Of course, if Fiora's riposte doesn't hit a target, the cooldown stays very large. There's a fight brewing in the bot lane, so Sejuani's already here. Hecarim's seen on a ward, and of course the Hook missing actually probably works out for Grey Warwick Academy here.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure that Archkiller would have let that one get away unpunished. Meanwhile, the state of the game, things looking very, very good for Grey Warwick Academy as they look to continue a push here in Varsity to try and join Grey Warwick. In the Varsity League, Benibi already thrown down the Vanguard's edge, caught by the Dredge line, looking for the play from the back, but instead caught out by It's Reese, who finds the damage coming in beautifully there from the depth charge, just as the 3rd dragon is spawning, and that's almost certainly going Grey Warwick's way.
It will be, and we talked about 2-fold losses not too long ago. This one is a teleport into a death for Johnny Benibi. This Aurelia, which already was suffering in that 1v1. This has led to yet another neutral objective going to the side of Grey Warwick Academy, and the fight might follow soon after.
Dredge line is going to connect with the wall rather than Sejuani. Bristle will be happy about, and this one going to live to fight another day. Collapse could come in through this tri-bush on the top side of, on the bottom side of the map. Screamo going to clear out this vision. They're going to force this one straight to the turret. Kale coming in, taking a turret shot already. We're going to see Tuba throwing down the ultimate, going invisible, trying to trumble, trying to stay alive. Already the wild growth on top of them, unable to find a kill. Arden finds one. In comes the Kale with the damage. Hecarim secures the kill onto the Lulu. The turret damage is doing good work, and Archkiller is here as well. As Faker finds the first kill onto its Reese, makes a second one as well as he takes down Muzzlemil. Looking for Arden as well to make it a triple. Having to dash himself out to safety, not connecting with the grab, but the chainy hands in the end. Arden is just going to burn down to the Sunfire Cape. Is the healing enough? The flash away is not enough, and Screamo finds the kill of all people, and now Hooked finds Faker. It's an absolute mess in the bot lane, frankly, but it does go Grey Warwick's way.
And the multicolored mess in bot lane goes the way of Grey Warwick Academy. The numbers weren't there early enough from Reading Knights, and somehow Arden makes it out of that fight, goes back, gets another set of items, doesn't have that gold going over to the side of Reading Knights. There is no shutdown to be had, of course. He's died a fair few times on his lonesome, but this time they over-chase, and the Kale picks up another kill, and Archkiller goes down.
This is such an absolute crazy game. 23 kills already in the game, showing no sign of slowing down. It almost feels like the Reading Knights have accepted the fact that if they get fights and they get these situations where they're maybe losing 3 kills to 2, at least they're still getting 1 or 2 kills to their name. They're still getting some of these late game carries fed. The question is, will the carries on the other side just be too strong soon? And when I look at a 4-1-5 Kale, who has already completed Riftmaker, Nash's Tooth, and Berserker Greaves, I think the answer might be yes.
Was about to say, this is the, so you have chosen death option for the side of Reading Knights. I know it seems like when you're trading, at least that you have agency over the game. At least you have an ability to say whether you are, controlling the state and flow of the game. But whenever these kills are picked up by the Kale in particular, things are going to get from bad to worse, because Kale can play multiple roles within this team comp, can play the primary carry, can play the assistance to another carry like that Fiora, Hecarim, or Samira diving in, and can just be the huge tank killer their team needs as the sole AP damage on the team.
Tank killer indeed. Meanwhile, turret killer in top lane. Fiora, the split pusher, is also super online. That tier map completed as well. Now, of course, slight changes to that one here in pre-season, but still a very, very useful item for certain champions. Fiora definitely one of them, as the second herald gets started up and will be secured with about 30 seconds to spare.
Will be. Another item I do want to talk about is the fact that both of these supports have the Locket of the Iron Solari pickup. That's an item which has that old, many seasons past passive of giving your teammates that surround you extra resists. There are no extra legendaries complete. Well, no, actually, no. Speaking of that, that's the other thing, of course. When you have a completed support item, that counts as a legendary. So that can actually be very important when you are trying to buff up a lot of very squishy champions. If you're stood next to your support, those extra resists can go quite a long way.
Very, very true. It's been an absolutely fascinating game to watch so far. And as we almost certainly head towards our next fight, let me just take a moment to give you some credit on this one, Mara, because I've been working with a young man who's been looking to get into casting, and he asked me, how do you deal with handoffs? It feels very difficult. When should I do that? I said, go and watch some of Naimera's handoffs. And in this game, you have got roughly 3 words into most of your sentences before having to do a handoff, and you've done a fine job of it. And I've got the talk lots, and that's great.
Yeah, see, what happens is normally I just end up folding all my words into the ball and then just let you take over, because you see, I trust your professionalism. You know, you showed me the ropes, and you know, I like to test the limits of your casting ability too. You know, we like to use this as a training opportunity.
Oh, we absolutely love it. The Null is such a lot of fun to cast, and yet again, providing us with such an entertaining first game. We've got a best of 3 series after this one. We'll be looking at another part of this varsity qualification draw. Be looking forward to that as things come up. But right now, all my focus is on what has been an outstanding game. And so far, one of the outstanding performers has been Archer Killer. But the question is, does the Sejuani have what it takes to help carry his team across the finish line? Right now, Benibi opting into the fight, not able to find the stun, but fires down the Vanguard's edge and has got help as well.
Oof.
Stun comes in and Faker picks up the kill onto Hook. The question is, what can Grey Warrior Academy get? The answer is seemingly not a lot right now.
Oh, so we've got the fake Faker and we have the fake Beatles too, because with a little help from his friends, Aurelia manages to pull one over onto the Fiora, which has been doing so well this game. But Baron has been started. When you commit that many people to the bottom side of the map, you got to expect this to be the response.
I will say this was a little slow in getting started up. It took a fair while for this one to get going, and I think this is why it will not get finished. It's Reese is going to find the pick onto Archkiller, find the dredge line onto the Vayne. Teleport's going to come through as Joey Benibi joins the fight, but the Vayne is already dead. That's going to be Arden finding one onto Chiva, dashing forward, dashing back, finding that S-rank time and time again. Muzzle finds a kill as well. Faker's going to die, and just like that, 3 people absolutely eviscerated from the Reading Knights. Now there's a choice to be made. Fiora opting into teleport. The Herald, which was summoned by her own inhibitor tower, has now found the inhibitor tower of the opposition in the top lane. It does look like they are going to trade a Baron and an inhibitor turret and an inhibitor itself for potentially a dragon, and they're not even going to get that. Reading Knights get caught by Muzzamil. Oni-chan taken so low. The blast cone to safety, but leaving Archer Killer for dead. The question is, how does this one go out? Hecarim versus Sejuani. Pony versus Bristle. Muzzamil going lower. Flashed upon. Shutdown comes through, and Sejuani finds that one. The question is, what can they do about this dragon? Starting it up seems like a bad idea. Right now, it's going to be the Ward spotting out the 3 approaching members of the Grey Warrior Academy, and Archer Killer has to run away with Bristle's tail between her legs.
But this is the thing, even though Hecarim dies, it stops Lulu from basing, it stops Sejuani from basing, who's now in a lot of danger. Look at this damage!
Danger, danger, just dead, and that is going to be Infernal Soul, and suddenly the team with a near 10,000 gold advantage has the Infernal Soul, and they look like there's nothing that can stop them.
And that was the plan from Isabel. Of course, the Hecarim wishes they survive, but stopping 2 people from backing whilst the rest of the team is respawning anyway means that there is no possible contest for the Infernal Soul fight. Now you have a Kayle with 2.5 items building towards that 3rd, of course, and every single member of their team in such a strong position with a strong neutral objective lead too, because you have that Baron buff, and now an inhibitor down in that top lane to play around with your extra map pressure too. This is a dominant position from Grey Warrior Academy.
It absolutely is. My question to you is this. What on earth do Reading Knights do to stop themselves falling into the loser's bracket of this double elimination tournament?
You have to get picks. You need to force you need
they've
to
got
prey
picks.
upon
They've got
mistakes.
the Lulu, so they've got picks.
Okay, all right.
What do they do next, Alex? What do they do next?
What do you next? Well, okay, well, you put that picks onto the Vayne, or maybe try and save your Silas, but he's doing a pretty good job of it himself.
He finds himself a little bit of healing, eats a depth charge to the face, flashes himself away just in time to avoid the Kayle putting further damage, steals away Kale's ultimate while all that's going on. Now dashing back forward, looking to try and stop turret down. They're going down. Idea. Turret's already gone. The Kayle ultimate was not activated in time. Silas dies, and this could be the final push coming in. Lulu has to use Wild Growth on herself. This leads to the Sejuani throwing the ultimate straight down onto the Vayne, who tumbles away, able to use that last hour exceptionally effectively, but this feels like it's the last hour of the Reading Knights instead. Yet more kills. Vayne, one of the last Survivors has survived no longer. A second inhibitor looks set to fall. The minions are here. There's 15-second death timers on Faker. Only Lulu standing between Grey Warwick Academy and progressing through to the next round in this double elimination knockout. They take down one Nexus turret. The other Nexus turret already has fallen. The game is over, and Grey Warwick Academy find themselves the win.
Grey Warwick Academy throw down the gauntlet and say, go on, trade with us. Give any of our carries kills. See how that works out for you. And we see how that works out. This time it was really the Kale with some backup carrying from the Fiora in the side lane and Samira popping off with that ultimate coming through in team fights. I really like how they ended up playing this game, making sure that gold was consistently flowing, accelerating the people that they needed to have in that late game. And running Knights, while they were rolling with the punches for large portions of that game, were consistently second to that blow.
And you called it during Champ Select as well, with the way the draft worked out and with the champions that got going there for Grey Warwick Academy, there really was just no way for the Reading Knights to be able to claw themselves back. They find themselves now in the losers bracket. They still have an opportunity, but with this being double elimination, they know that one loss of one best of three series between now and near the end of that losers bracket, when it gets towards the semi-final, the final, a single best of three loss, and their split is done. There will be no more, and they will not have that opportunity to be in varsity. Grey Warwick, on the other hand, they've still got both of their lives intact. They will progress into the winners half of the draw. They will get themselves as far along as they possibly can before falling into the losers bracket, if indeed they fall there at all, and they will have an even better chance of trying to get themselves through. We will continue to see which of these teams try to make their way through to varsity. We'll be coming back with a best of three game from the winners half of the draw very, very shortly after this next break. When we go to this break, do just allow me to remind you that we have got some fantastic sponsors. Thank you again to Twitch, to their student partner program, and to Amazon University Esports. We are also proud to be sponsored by Levi's 24/7. Make sure to join today and earn points with every purchase. The link is in the panel below. Go check that out as we hit a break.